Okay, for this next section, I want to talk about texture replicators. It's actually a very cool feature. It's been in here for a little bit, but I just want to show you how to do it. A couple of people asked. What I'm going to do is hold the Shift key and add a flat plane right here, and let's give ourselves a default view. Okay, in polygon mode, Shift D will call up our subdivide polygons, and we're going to do this a few times, so we get a nice subdivided box like that. And I'll press R for scale and grab the middle and size it up a little bit. But let me turn this off real quick. I'm going to show you one step ahead of myself here. Alright, so if we wanted to make a landscape with this, I normally hit the T key, which is our element move, and then right mouse to create a little range of influence. And I can just click and pull on this just to create, you know, nice little valleys and hills and things. You can also press the tab key now that we've subdivided just to help smooth it out. And then T again, right click, and you can grab and pull smaller areas. Okay, so that's all well and good, but it can take you a little while. It's great for general sizing for this particular thing. But what I want to do instead is click in our fall off and choose noise. And then with the noise fall off, I'm going to set the scale, and that's down here on the left, to 20%. Then I'll press W. Oh, not in there. Press W and then move, and you'll see that this landscape now very easily gets a nice little ripple in it. All right, so what we basically did, the fall off, the noise is in the full environment, and so we are then technically moving this through that noise. It's a way to think of it. So it's a very easy way to make a little bit of a landscape, kind of random, a great way to make an ocean, things like that. And of course you can increase the size or decrease the size depending on what you're after. So if you start to do it and nothing's happening, most likely that scale is set to like 100% or something, and you have to size it down, which basically is just a noise feature, just like you would put on, let's say, a shader. And so you're scaling down that overall noise and just moving that object through it. Okay, so just a quick, easy little tip you can use for all kinds of things. So let's jump over to render. Let's open this up, and we'll go to 3D view, press M, and we'll call this ground. And we have a ground material. Okay, then we'll rotate around a little bit, pull this up like that. Let's go to our render preset, and in the outdoor environments, you're going to go to environments, and then go to outdoor, and just pick any one of them. It's fine. Just double click, creates a nice little outdoor lighting environment, and then turn off the default directional light. Okay, nice, easy way to just light up a scene. All right, so all we're going to do now is just create a little grassy area. We're going to zoom in so we can see it. There we go. Okay, now what's going to happen here is I'm going to take an image map, so select the material, add image map, and then from your images within the projects, this is the grass tile image. Now by default, it just puts that on the whole plane, the whole full plane, this one texture image. There was a UV map already built in right there, simply because it was a default plane. But that's okay, but really we need a lot more grass than that. And of course we can build 3D grass, which I'll show you after this. But the texture locator over here, if you look at the bottom, you're going to see transform, fall off, pigmentation, everything else. You want to go to texture replicator, and for the particle source we want the plane. And what happens is that image is now represented on each one of those points. So when we had subdivided, that was also part of the idea. That it was twofold. One, so we can get it kind of rippled, but also so we can use it for points. However, it doesn't look so good. The particle size here is set to 0.2, so I can increase this, and suddenly we've got image, that square little image is replicated all over the points within this object. And as I increase the particle size, you're just going to get larger portions of it throughout. And what's cool about this is that if you have the right image, and even the one I have isn't even that great, it blends it all together really quite well. So you create a nice carpet, nice grass texture, anything else. So it's just set to diffuse color. Now you can randomize the size if you want, just to give it variation. Randomize the rotation. All right, and so now with an image that wasn't even too seamless, we've got it seamlessly repeating all over our object, which is great. So now for the grass, I can right click on it, create an instance, and then right click on diffuse and make it a bump. And now we've got a little bit more texture in it, all based on that image. Right, so very easy way to create a grass field. I actually just had to do this for a football field recently. Now you got to be careful of too much repeat. So if your image is not too even, you might start to see repeating patterns throughout. But the one I have in here for you guys is not too bad. It's not fully seamless, but it's also not repeating that much either. Just enough variation. So try that out. Now this is also great for dirt and rocks and textures. And so just download something off the internet. Throw it in there and see what it looks like. All right. So let's go a step further with this. I'm going to go one step more, and I'm going to turn this off. We're not going to use that. I'm going to go to Add Layer, and then we're going to go down to Special, and we're going to choose Fur Material. Now, this fur material automatically is going to just add all these great-looking fibers. Okay. So if you really have some grass that you need to create, let's just drop it down so we can see it a little more of an angle. You can do it with the fur material. Fur material is actually really neat because you have physical objects that are being built, being rendered. They're really not part of the object itself. If you look here, you're seeing just guides that are generated. Okay, all of this happens with the render. And what I can do with this is change the length. So right here, the default is 200 millimeters. We can make it 100 millimeters. And then the spacing, which is really the key, and it also can really kill your render too, so you got to be careful. Right now the spacing is 200 millimeters. Well, excuse me, 20 millimeters. So I'm going to make this about 5 millimeters. And I'm going to get a much more dense kind of look in here. And you can see now it's taking a little bit to update. But I'm getting a much finer grass this way. All right. Now, you can do tapering on here. We had automatic sizing. You can change the width of these. You also notice that it's... Let me go down and see a little bit of a close-up here. You can see a little bit of a droop right there. So if you go to Fur Guide, you've got clumping and curls and all these other things you can do. So we can change the clump range, bring that down to 20 millimeters so there's not as many clumps of grass in there. We can go to Fur Kink, and the bend amplitude, the amount of bend, is at 50%. Well, if I just make it 0, what do you think would happen? Just going to shoot right up. Okay, so now we've just straightened all that out. Okay, now if you make this really short, what you would do is you'd go back to the fur material then and bring it down to, let's say, 2 millimeters. Oh, wrong one. I want the length to be 20 millimeters. There we go. Okay. Now it is possible to make it so short that the land or the ground starts coming through. So you gotta give it a little trial and error, depending on the size of your object. But something like this, we've now just made a golf course kind of lawn, a very nice tight green lawn. Well, where's the green? Well, let's go back down to the base material, and let's just choose a little bit of color in the base. And what's kind of neat about this is that you can very easily then start adding image maps to it. You can add procedurals to it, and that would all feed up into the fur material. And it's not too bad of a render. It really used to be when it first came out, but this could be a beard on somebody's face. This could be hair on somebody's head. Any kind of thing Genie likes. This could be a forest. If this is a very wide landscape type shot, this could be a forest. So you start with the fall off. We move it, so we create kind of these ripples. You can use a texture replicator, or you can use the fur material. And in this case, this kind of looks like a rug, like a front door mat. So you can very easily see the potential here. Take it a step further, you can actually add a logo in here and put that right on top. Bring a PNG logo in. So just a quick little overview on the fur material, and go ahead and try that out. Make sure that when you select that, you go to the side tabs here and play with the fur guides, play with the fur kink, play with the bend direction, position jitter, direction jitter, and so on. Now remember that anywhere you see these little dots, that also means you can animate those values. I've actually used fur on objects to create kind of little moving bumps. So let's move on to the next video, and I'll show you another little trick using the fur material.